Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Guys, if you haven't seen a Hot Take before, well, it's where a few friends get in the basement and we give our thoughts, we give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a show, and that show is Echo, of course, from Marvel. Here to discuss, as always, the triple threat, Chris Trio.
Gooch, good afternoon, right? It's afternoon.
Yeah, it's 1:30.
I'm excited to talk a little Echo. I just am coming hot off it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Finished Echo in 2 days.
Yeah.
I did 2 and 3. 5 episodes, about 4 hours of television, Marvel Spotlight Project.
I did. It is the first Marvel Spotlight project, right? Or was
second.
technically Wolf?
No.
Or no? What was?
Yeah, Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first.
Was the first one?
Yeah, so a bit of a different project from Marvel. Probably the last Marvel review we'll be doing for a while.
Until Deadpool.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I guess is
It's supposed to be next year, like
good
late next year.
and bad.
I think
Probably
that's
good.
great. Actually, to
Yeah,
be honest, I wouldn't even put it bad at all.
Bad in the terms of there's just nothing, but good in the
sure.
terms of like we've had too much.
Yeah. Listen, there's so much.
And will this be too much, or will this be a good cap to whatever the fuck we just have been going through with Marvel? Because I guess
There's just a lot. No, I mean, it's not even necessarily. It's the end of like those ones that we've known for
the
a while.
Bob Iger era.
Somewhat, yeah. But again, even it's funny because like the Bob Iger era was like just the Bob Chapek era. Bob Iger is the one who came back.
Yeah,
But Chapek really kind of just implemented everything Iger like got ready to do before he left. So truthfully, I don't put a ton of blame on Chapek when it comes to a lot of this like
TV show
decision making. Like it was kind of the idea before he even came in.
Sure.
But yeah, so this is the second Spotlight.
Yeah.
And
Sorry. I don't know why I'm trying to tee you up, but you're just going anyway.
I think like for a Spotlight, this truly does feel much different than any of the other shows that we've watched from Marvel, just specifically in the way of tone and how it's shot. It feels much more like a crime drama. It's much more, and they said this, it's much more akin to like the Daredevil stuff in the way of like the complete drama of it all. I think that there are elements that do not work, which are the more superhero-y elements. And that's unfortunately, like, I think the family dynamics work really well. I thoroughly actually liked a lot of the side characters. I really liked her uncle a lot that worked at the rink. I found that like storyline very compelling.
Blackhawk, I think his name was?
Yeah. I thought he was fantastic.
Really? Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't care about him at all.
I really enjoyed that kind of whole dynamic with her talking to him and him being in the life.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, listen, for a show that I didn't care about or really want, I thought it was pretty good. And I think that they made the right decision of cutting this down to maybe 5 episodes, maybe it was longer, and releasing it all at once. Because I felt like I could really easily digest it.
Because if it didn't release all at once, I wouldn't have watched it until probably...
It was all out. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what kind of I've been doing with the Disney Plus shows lately. I think... the first comment you wrote where I put my hand up because I wanted to stop you because I was like, I gotta get in on the action. The Daredevil of it. Yes, this is TVMA and it does have the violence and the tones that those Marvel Netflix shows had, for sure. But I don't think it's nearly as enough as they really let it on to be. Not a lot of action in the show. There are probably literally 4 or 5 action set pieces in the show, and that's it.
Yeah, but that's like Daredevil. There's only like one hallway fight per season. There's a few here and there, but
I mean like 4 or 5 literal fights.
Sure.
Like in the whole show. I mean, like in Daredevil, there's like numerous.
That's also a 12-episode series,
right?
Like and 3 seasons
True,
long.
But I'm comparing, just the past project.
Sure.
So like I feel like the trailer was much heavier in those tones of those Netflix shows than Echo actually ended up being. We have like that one really bloody scene where the one guy is killed in the roller rink and he's like thrown and like the blood's kind of like dripping down his eyes. But like besides that, there's really no other really violent things happening.
I mean, you see Kingpin beat the shit out of that guy.
That was
a few. That
was shot for Hawkeye. So much reused footage in this.
Well, sure, yeah. Well, they catch you up on the hot. I mean, there's like the part with that, and then like
the first 3 episodes, I just like, especially with the Kingpin stuff. But I'm like, they are really reusing a lot of the stuff they shot for Hawkeye.
Well, and there was,
and
even
I almost
some,
got annoyed by it.
Well, I feel like at the beginning there was, but that was to catch people up who
Right,
didn't
but
watch
then it happened
Hawkeye.
in like episode 3 when it's like, okay, the Kingpin's back, and now we're gonna do it again.
Sure, we got a lot. Like I'm trying to think what else was from Hawkeye besides
The Ronin
that part.
stuff.
Yeah, again, that was all in the beginning, like where they're showing you all the flashbacks.
It's in episode 3 as well. They show it again for longer.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so I just was like, why are we reusing? I've never seen Marvel do this that much. Like, there's a lot of reused content here.
Well, and I think it was to just catch people back up from what they didn't watch on Hawkeye. To be honest, they were giving those people kind of the catch up. It was like that first episode of Mandalorian where they were like, "Here's everything you should have watched in this last thing." And
right? Because
I do think that's a negative.
To go into
for sure.
Echo, you really, like Hawkeye is kind of important, and I guess Daredevil really isn't. But like, you don't really need that much to go into this. And I think that was definitely the idea with the flashbacks and stuff. So I get it, but Marvel's going to be loaded pretty much at all times now. You really can't escape its loaded-ism.
But again, I think this does a good job of not making it like it gives you all those things to catch you up, and I think it does that in a way that makes sense.
And I have to agree with what you said. The Echo Marvel hero of it, I think is pretty weak. I don't care about Echo as a character, but
it's funny. I like Maya as a character,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
That I like Maya, and I kind of it felt like. And I think you can take this as a negative or a positive. Sure. It felt like a fan film, a fan series.
Interesting.
Somebody filming this in their hometown, and kind of just doing something with it.
I did like the
small scale of
the
the location specifically, which is in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Tacoma. I don't know. I assume it's a real place.
Taha?
Yeah. No, I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah. Where you can keep continuing, but that was one of the strengths for me personally, like how separate it was from everything.
I don't really know how I'm sitting on it, but yeah, and then like I like the is it Chola, the grandma character? I really liked her, and I liked the cultural inclusion, I guess, of the Choctaw Indian tribe. Like that was cool. Like I liked that, but like I didn't like it in the terms of Echo the character. I liked it as is normal,
but that's what I
didn't like it when it like
when you see her suit.
Yeah, I was like, what is
it felt very out of place.
Yeah, the suit the suit at the end felt really weird.
Well, and it's funny because like it works in the setting of like the whole powwow that they're doing at the end, and like she's dressed in like the classical Native American garb, and she's there for the festival, so it it works there, and I get it. They're trying to lean into her cultural heritage and stuff like that, but like, yeah, it didn't feel like the show where she gets her super suit. Which is funny,
I wasn't looking for the super suit.
Like I really did like. I found the most interesting parts of this to be the dramatic parts, the character moments, and I think that they were very strong. Like that confrontation between her and her grandmother, I felt worked very well. And for being a completely silent protagonist, it works so much more well than I would have expected. Personally.
That suit that she's in when she talks to her grandma about
it's like a wetsuit.
Yeah, like that's cool.
I actually like that one.
I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, I've seen Echo in the comics, and I'm like, she's not really like that Native American,
like influenced.
Yeah, like she just happens to be it. Like I like, it's not like Red Wolf is a Marvel Native American character that is very Native American.
Well, and his stuff's like set during like in like earlier time, right? Or something.
No
I
idea,
thought,
but I don't think DC has a Native American hero. They probably
do, but it's just
I'm thinking of like Nightwolf from.
I was literally thinking that too.
Yeah. Where his is like, okay, like he's a Native American and he looks like it. Well, whereas Maya just is like it.
In the comics, she hasn't really leaned into that, right?
And for those who don't know, Echo is, I would say, a C-list Daredevil character. And I almost think the show, like, I don't know if it was unnecessary, but it just didn't really feel like it needed to happen. Like I
With
feel
Daredevil, you're saying, or like
the
show in
just
general.
in general, the show in general. Like I feel like Maya and Echo probably could have been better accompanying another character like she did in Hawkeye. Like it's clearly her
or even
place.
showing up in a Daredevil,
Right? And I mean, I'm guessing they're leading up to something with the Kingpin in New York. He's going to run for mayor.
Well, so that seems to be. I actually like that setup a lot because I think that's how you can that's obviously the setup for Daredevil, and I think that could be a new and interesting avenue into that relationship. Whereas, like, I don't want them to just retread the same things that we saw in the Netflix series, which are apparently canon now or something, right?
So all of it's canon for some reason.
Like all of a sudden now,
like it wasn't like I wasn't
like they weren't deciding
it was always canon to me. Fucking Feige piece of shit.
Well, but I think it was more like spiritually it's canon. Like these events happened in like this is how I understood. This is how I guess took it from before now, where we know it is canon. So these events in that way happened in some fashion, like they did in Daredevil, and that led to where we are within the MCU. But now they're just saying it is that, which it did start to be that because they referenced the New York thing like here and there in the Marvel Netflix shows.
The guy with the shield.
Yeah, the guy with the shield. Come on.
Fucking.
But yeah, I think this show really does work its best when it's at its more dramatic, and I do think they succeeded in really making this feel so much different from like your regular Marvel stuff. And we didn't get any of those quippy jokes you hate to undercut tension.
Yeah, not a lot of humor.
There was one part that made me genuinely laugh, and again, it was from a completely silent protagonist. I can't remember exactly what it was. Kingpin says something, then Maya responds, and like I was like, that was funny, but like it wasn't. It was just a good moment of levity. Yeah, it wasn't like a joke.
And I think my fear of the show is like, how do we even do a show like this with a character who is, mute?
Yeah. I mean, I guess mute would be like you can't speak, like you can't communicate at all, but. Like she's just deaf. Yeah, so she...
And, I mean, the disabled part is really a non sequitur. Like, it doesn't really...
Yeah, she's missing her lower left leg, lower right leg.
Yeah, which is like, okay, like that doesn't...
No, it's nothing cool. It's just another layer to
anything.
Yeah, no.
And, I was just like, okay, and it's fine. I think it worked in Hawkeye where it needed to, and it does work in this show really well. The only issue I have is this, and I really just don't believe it. I understand that Maya's mother was also deaf, so her grandma should definitely know ASL really well.
Her mother was deaf?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that at all. Because she was speaking.
Okay.
She
was.
Yeah, I don't think she's deaf.
And then all of a sudden, they're calling her... Okay, let's back up. Let's back up.
Yeah, no,
I'm pretty sure that, like, they call her deaf, and then all of a sudden she stops talking.
Her mom. I don't remember that at all because then she's talking to her in the vision and stuff.
No, she's not.
Yeah, she is. She's speaking as she's doing sign language.
No.
I just watched this today, Goosh.
Dude, I swear to God.
She's talking.
Are you sure?
Yes, 100%. And she's also speaking to her before she gets it in the accent. Because she's talking.
Yeah, I know.
She's like, we're
the
going
popcorn.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
So, like, no, she's speaking in that vision. She is.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident she's also saying stuff, but it's
like a fucking fever dream watching that. I remember it. I'm like, maybe
I'll give it to you. Maybe I am misremembering. I could have sworn she was actually because
no, they were totally not.
But again, I know because I did Google this after. I'm like, what? Like, do people usually
Especially
speak
with, like,
when
the
they're
bird,
signing?
And she heals the bird, and she's not talking at all.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that's because the mom's deaf. I think that's just because she knows sign language really well. As I understand it, with people who when you're learning sign language, you'll speak along with doing sign because you don't know everything and it's easier for someone to read your lips. But if you know sign language completely, there's no reason to speak.
I'm okay with that, but it's just like, okay, it's is Scully his name, the grandpa who's not really the grandpa?
Is he not really her grandpa?
No, he's not.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's like a boyfriend.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot too.
Yeah, he was funny.
Yeah.
But like every character who signs to Maya, I'm like, you haven't... Okay, so she leaves at 9 to go to New York with her dad. You haven't seen this girl for 20 years.
The dad has. He says he has. He's too with the grandma. She's like, you haven't seen her in 20 years. And he's like... And she's like, oh, so you have. So they've been speaking.
Speaking, maybe via text.
Well, and also... But again, like, I think if you have if you have someone that you love and care about that's deaf, you probably don't unlearn sign language.
So... Right, you're not unlearning it, but like biscuits, for example, why is he called that?
I don't know.
I'm like, how do you still know ASL after 20 years? You were a kid too. How does Bonnie still know ASL after 20 years? How does
she's been missing her? See, that's believable to me because she's been texting her and wants a relationship with Maya, whereas not the other.
True,
guy.
but like again, if she is just texting her, she's not using ASL to communicate. It was just the same thing with Miles Morales. I'm like, how do all these people know? Like, and I see like sometimes they're struggling as they're just sign, which I'm fine with, but I'm like, you're still apparently signing well enough that she's understanding you.
Gooch, I'm not gonna lie, this didn't even occur to me most of the time.
I was just like, I just don't find it believable.
Well, and I just think it's because don't really have the sources novel. Yeah,
or like the experience to really know the answer to that question.
Yeah, so I think, and that's again, this is not something we see on TV. We rarely get a full-on deaf protagonist.
I would not know
this.
where to start with ASL.
No, it's another language. Yeah, and listen, I think it's just kind of cool that we've got this, representation and stuff in that way of like,
sure,
it's interesting to see because like and it really does work because like it's. I'm not deaf, obviously. Communication, I can only imagine, is so hellish, especially when you're just going around with people who can't speak ASL, and it's a smaller population, but like. I don't know. I think it is interesting that they are still able to convey so much emotion, and the girl who acts as Maya. I do feel her without her speaking at all. I feel her through her signing. I think she does an amazing job of like emoting and, keeping you in the scene regardless of if she's speaking or not, which is, I think, a tough feat.
Yeah. And I liked, so I was thinking the same thing with the Kingpin. I was like, okay, well, like Kingpin is clearly like doesn't know ASL. I'm like, that makes sense because he's also an adult when he meets her. So like, it would probably be really difficult maybe. And again, wait.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah.
It would be difficult for him to learn another language, just like it would be difficult for me to learn ASL or Spanish or whatever, because I'm an adult and it's harder for me to,
Sure.
It's easier to learn when you're a kid. And then when she goes, you say you care about me, but you didn't even bother to learn sign language. But then I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, okay, good.
That's the reason. Exactly.
You kind of threw it back in my face a little bit. But
that's how I read that whole situation.
But at the same time, it's like,
it's not because he didn't want to. It's because it is because he didn't care enough to learn.
You think?
Yes, 100%. Listen, if you have someone in your life, no matter if you're 20 or 45, and you're communicating with them every day, you can learn a bit of sign language, and you can get by. I'm sure you could, after 20 years,
like the contact
make
thing,
the effort to
the contact thing was kind of
hilarious.
You think it was hilarious?
Hilarious in the way of no, it was good in the way of it shows how lazy the Kingpin is.
Okay.
Like in the way of like he is like.
I guess I wasn't like tagging him out to be such a bad guy about that.
No, yeah, like it's again. I think he does care about Maya, and we realize that throughout the campaign, throughout the show. But like he doesn't love things in the correct way. You see this even with his obsession. Like he does care about her, but probably for wrong reasons, and he wants her to reciprocate. It's weird. I'm dancing on it because I think
in his traumatic ways.
Exactly, because I think he does genuinely care about her. But then once he realizes, like, oh no, she's gonna break free and she does feel this way, that's when he snaps and he's like, no, actually, fuck you. You don't care about me. I cared about you. And then it kind of flips on its head. But I do think that him not learning sign language is a perfect encapsulation of how much he really kind of cares about her and how much he really wants to show it. Because again, I did notice that the whole time through too. I'm like, man, he's got a translator.
Yeah.
And I kind of went to that of like, it's like, oh, he just doesn't give a shit. Like he doesn't want to learn it. Because I really don't. Don't get me wrong. Learning a whole new language is hard.
I'm like Kingpin out of everyone would definitely have the resources to probably learn
easily.
Quickly.
Yeah,
100%.
Like, and then you have to have an intermediary who they kill later in the show. Like
I felt bad for that.
I did too. But they did show the contact thing too much. I'm like, we get it. We see what she's seeing. Like they kept cutting back to her, like seeing the AR, like him doing the, and it felt weird because I don't know. It felt like they needed to keep the sign language in because wouldn't it just be a closed captioning thing?
Speaking of that, I didn't like the way they had the subtitles for the signing.
What? How it was like the regular closed captioning?
Yeah, I wish
Disney Plus is terrible with.
I wish they. At
subtitles.
first, especially when they were talking, I was like, "Wait, why are closed captions on?" I'm like, I kind of get the show. I'm like, maybe they're on by default. I'm like, oh no, they're just in the show.
It's for when she's signing.
And I'm like, why are they displaying so?
That's how their closed captioning works.
It's like 2001, and I turn closed captions on my TV.
And it's the black box.
Yeah, I would. It's a black box with the gray text. I would expected it to be stylized a bit better and a bit more immersively.
Disney Plus has problems with that because I watched Daredevil on there, and if you turn, we had subtitles on because we watched a little bit of it. I watched it with Tamiris.
Okay.
And like when you'd get to the Korean, the Japanese speakers, if you had subtitles on, it would like override their subtitles. So it wouldn't show you the subtitles for the different language, but it would show you subtitles for when like people were speaking English. It was very stupid and weird. And once you turned it off, it would show the Japanese subtitles for what it should say. They need to fix that. It's terrible.
Because like in most shows, they have like a built-in like font. It looks like nice. Like
it's weird. Certain movies do. Certain like John Wick is a great example of that, where it's like they have really stylized.
Right, and I'm not saying it needed to be like that level.
No,
but I'm like
maybe look a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm like why didn't they like develop a font or
make it a little bit more modern?
Use a font to like make it look like it's not like
I know exactly what you mean.
I just turned closed captioning on my
in
TV.
2006.
Yeah. There was something about. I'm like.
I agree.
Ugly.
It was very weird.
That's what there's really a show for. That's all fucking about it.
Sure. Well, I mean, the main character needs subtitles most of the time, and I mean, she never speaks in this really at all.
She does.
There's like one part where she does yell
to talk.
Well, and that's
probably. I mean, most deaf people can. I think can.
Yeah, you can. Obviously, you just don't. They know they don't sound correct, so I think most of them choose not to.
Right. They sound.
It's hard.
Goofy.
Yeah.
Because like some characters, I'm like, I can hear her talking under her breath.
Because she does, and even like her, like
which is fine.
And I think that's how people. I assume that's how people actually sign and stuff like that.
Right,
you know?
right.
Like
it seemed realistic.
Yeah, exactly. It felt very natural. Jinx,
yum me a soda. First episode, Daredevil.
Yeah.
I feel bad that Charlie Cox is getting the 1 episode deals.
Well, it's funny
with this shit.
I think in the longer version of this show that they were planning on doing, he would have been in it more.
Like, yeah, I was like, is he gonna come back at the end because he hears about Kingpin or something?
Well, but I think that's like we said, that's what that whole mayoral thing. I think they're kind of gonna Lex Luthor it a little bit in the way of like the public will see Kingpin. Well, no, and the public will see Kingpin as this very nice, cool guy.
Right,
I did like their fighting, like being like, no, he's a piece of shit. Yeah, dude, Vincent D'Onofrio, man. Every time he's on screen, I love him
what's
so
sad,
much.
I think, about Echo is I think the draw for most Marvel fans, non-lay people, Native American people, will be the Kingpin of it.
Oh, 100%.
Not Echo.
And even having 100%. I completely agree.
Kind of sucks.
Yeah, but like,
because I didn't like the first 3 episodes, and then I'm like, that second episode was rough for me. I'm like, this is like kind of boring.
I didn't really know that.
Then they got to the Kingpin of it. I'm like, okay, this is getting good. I like it. Okay. Or I think it's better. Not that I like it. I don't think I dislike or like the show. It's just happened to be something I watched.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, Kingpin, cool. You shot him in the face and nothing happened? What happened?
It skinned him. That's what I assume. She fucking shot around the side. Like, that's the idea. Gooch, I'm willing to accept many other things.
If I shot you in the face point blank,
people have survived that. There's that one.
No, I understand. But if I knew I missed,
well, maybe it didn't look like it. Looked like it just skipped. Again, I can accept. My mind can accept that.
If his eye was completely blown out, like Carl Walking Dead blown out, I would have believed it. But it's just like, oh, my eye's back to normal and I have a scar from what looks like the muzzle flash. What?
I don't know.
That's not how bullets work.
Sure. There's a lot of things that don't work how they're supposed to work.
If they really just dedicated to the grisliness of the eye injury, I would have been fine with he survived it somehow.
Sure.
I'm fine to,
I did like this. I actually kind of like the scar.
I like the scar, but I wish it was more grisly. Like in the comics, it's both eyes. I don't know what he looks like after.
Sure.
I know he wears like glasses.
Yeah. But I mean, dude, he does look when he's sitting in the car and he's just got his round head and he's just huge. I'm like, he does look so good as Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio, he kills it. But I agree. Listen, I take your point. I think it's fair. I would have liked to see it be a bit more grisly too. I was willing to accept it.
Another thing I didn't like was the cutback. I didn't like how long you know how they showed like the ancestors.
Yeah,
I didn't like the one with like the silent movie one. I'm like, what the fuck is?
I actually kind of like that.
I didn't like that.
I don't know why. I enjoyed it.
And I like the one with like the lacrosse game. That was cool.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of seeing like, oh, lacrosse. You know, like it's something.
Or an
we
early
still
version.
play.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And like the what the game kind of means and symbolizes, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. But I hated how many times we had to flash back to these characters. I'm like, I don't care about like.
Well,
I
felt
got
like they
it.
were.
I get it.
I get it, guys.
Echo.
I get it. She's it's
Echo,
all these people. She's echoing her.
I do like the. I kind of like how the name kind of feeds into it. But like again, we don't really understand her powers per se. She's echoing.
She seems to have the knowledge
or like skills of her ancestors.
She seems to hold the knowledge,
which is not what she is in the comics.
What is she in the comics?
Like Taskmaster.
Oh, interesting. I see. She echoes people's powers.
Right.
But does she take their powers, or is it more just fighting?
It's more like fighting ability.
I see.
I don't think it's like echoing powers, but it's a lot like Taskmaster.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, again, I don't know. She's a character I know little to nothing about.
Yeah, and she's new, like 2009. Like or it's either 99 or 2009. Very new character. Look
Relatively,
look it up right now.
Yeah.
And like again, not a character I think people would give a shit about for the most part. Was used well in Hawkeye, but again, it's like we're not getting another season of Echo.
Listen, we said this earlier,
yeah,
yeah, sorry, Echo. What was I looking up again? Echoes.
Just Echo, like first reveal, first appearance. Yeah, like, yeah. I mean, we're definitely not. This is a spotlight thing. We're not getting another season of this.
Yeah, she premiered in Daredevil #9, December of 1999.
99.
So she's she's been around for long enough.
Like 15 years isn't that long for some of these characters.
I mean, Harley's not. She's only like 20. Like she was in 95. So
Harley's a little different.
I disagree.
She's like an A-lister.
I disagree in popularity. I don't disagree in popularity at all. But in the way of like, I don't think that means like she's any less newer or
right. But it's like how like they did like Typhoid Mary and
I mean, do you think Miles Morales is only 2009? Right?
Yeah, I mean,
he's pretty late.
But like nobody knew who Miles Morales was until Into the Spider-Verse.
Sure, I think that. Sure, yeah, you're Gen Pop for sure. Yeah.
You're lame.
Whereas like
plebeians.
Yeah, I think he definitely definitely brought him into like the full focus. I did really like the moment with her grandmother and her mother, like that where her mother kind of gives her the whole spiel. Yeah, and I thought that whole dynamic worked really well. And just most of her family dynamic, I think, is really the strongest here.
To kind of switch gears a little bit, I didn't like the fake leg thing.
What do you mean? Like what the dad gives her, or like what?
Yeah, what grandpa not grandpa gives her. And I'm like, that'd be. I don't think it would be that easy to walk around on a prosthetic that really didn't fit you correctly.
Well, but I think the idea is it fits. Like I think he like made it modeled because that's the whole point of prosthetics when they make them, right? He modeled it to fit her leg, is the idea.
Right, but I feel like because it's so like janky, it probably would be really uncomfortable.
Like jagged. Yeah, well, I think the idea is it kind of hooks into the bottom of her thing.
How she escapes too, like it hooks into were you about to say that hooks into the narrative?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it does like help her escape, and like that roller rink scene is pretty interesting in a few different ways, but yeah, just like there's a lot of like humor you were talking about. There's a lot of humor in like, okay, she's making this like gun that shoots like ball bearings or some shit. It's like, okay, all right,
here we go.
Yeah, like some humor where you can have humor in dialogue.
No, absolutely.
But I do have to give it to them. Not a lot of humor in this at all. I guess like Biscuits is kind of like your humor character.
But even he's very.
I thought it was funny when like like she's like delivering mail and the neighbor's like, hey, like where's your truck? And he's like, oh, like Biscuits bar, and like he like rolls
drives by and it's dragging.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that was pretty funny.
Dude, there's
like,
some good moments.
Like not like a quip, but like a humor scene,
a moment of levity that you don't feel like is taking away from anything.
Right, like
and like
trying to sell a PS4 for $100. Like get the fuck out of here. Dude.
Again, but like that stuff. It didn't feel egregious to me at all. Like I was like, that's.
I think felt like I'm like, oh, we're about to commit like a genocidal crime here at this powwow with these guys like setting up
they're ready to destroy everything.
Fucking RPG. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, what is this, like Columbine or some shit? I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this.
I did like the
fireworks. Yeah,
we're good. I did like the relationship between Fisk and Maya as well, like how they illustrate it, and I think they did a good job of bringing you up to speed on like what she's been doing with them and how they kind of got involved and with her dad and everything like that.
He is that actor.
He's a very famous. I feel like he's out there. He's in a lot.
You know who he was in Castlevania, right?
Oh yeah, he's the Native American vampire, right?
Yep.
What's his name?
Yeah.
He's in Yellowstone too.
He's
actually.
in a lot.
Yeah.
He seems to be a very big name. I like him.
No, he's great. I liked him a lot too.
But yeah, what a piece of shit.
Real piece of shit.
I mean, he was also like, it was interesting, like, she was, he was trying to live both lives. And remember the dragon analogy? I kind of thought that was cool.
It was.
I also saw it as like, okay, like you're in the life and you're not dragon being a creature that can like traverse two worlds. Also funny because like that is the truth in Marvel, being like magical and stuff. Yeah. But also
there are dragons. Yeah, we know. About
also like the two world perspective of like your normal life and they are now like superhero life. But I like it is interesting because they're doing this like culturally. I was going to say loaded, but that's definitely not the word. Culturally influenced show with a villain character.
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't say Echo's a villain.
Like, I think she kind of turns anti-hero by the end.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like she kills people. Like she's not like, you don't want to like grow up like I want to be like Echo.
Well, it's true,
and kill people.
I do like that whole moment with Kingpin where he's like, you could like, listen, I didn't hear you complaining, and when we're doing blah blah blah, but then she does come back with like you isolated me. You told me I was the only one you can trust. Very, very groomery behavior for sure, and the way of trying to take someone and make
Kingpin.
them into like your image of what you want. And I mean, by the end, he admits she had her father killed and all that, and that was very like kind of powerful. Again, Vincent D'Onofrio when he's yelling as Fisk is so good.
It's
like when he gets really mad, and he like the way he speaks in his cadence.
I know you, Daredevil. I don't even know how to do it.
It's like he's got it's
so
a very
weird. You know what Vincent D'Onofrio sounds like normally, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same.
No, it's not at all. He definitely created a character when he made
I Know You,
and he
like charges up,
dude. It's
Vanessa. You embarrass me in front of Vanessa.
it's
you fucking loser.
He seems to truly like it reminds me of Ian McDermott and Palpatine. Like he could be brought back in a thing and shoot lightning everywhere and love it. No. Like he just seems to really enjoy that character and being in that character. So I will always have fun watching him, and I can't wait to see him in Daredevil. But yeah, I thought that whole dynamic was really good, and just she comes back to town to try to like fuck up Fisk's operations through there, and then like because she plants a bomb there is a bit of a loose thread that I was like, okay, I don't know exactly necessarily what the goal is here, but then it kind of wraps back around once Fisk shows up.
I think she's just trying to fuck up. When she gets to the town, it's like, oh, like Fisk's operations are still going.
Well, and
I guess she's like, even if we think Fisk is dead, we're gonna try to stop that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think that's like kind of what makes everything come to a head. And there's that one dude with the glasses and like the teeth, like the guy who tries to commit genocide.
Right. Yeah, he's always a dirty Russian mobster and everything. I feel
you've seen him before?
Yeah, he's in Limitless, I believe.
Like
at
John
one point,
Wick?
He's probably in John Wick.
He looks like a John Wick.
No, yeah, I feel like he always plays that like Ruski fuck. Like he's like, get out of my way.
He looked like some like New York like Jew mobster. Like that was like kind of the vibe I got from him. Like I'm like
no, he looked like he's like that Russian just like
let me
mafia
get like a
fuckhead.
bagel with some locks on it, while I'm committing crimes.
Sure.
I brought up Daredevil. We kind of got off track a little bit. The fight scene with him was really cool.
I loved it.
He had a new suit on again.
He has his like it looks like his more original suit.
It's not.
But I mean,
it looks like
I think they're trying like it's
color
basic.
scheme.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like basically the same exact.
But it is
suit.
the same suit with a different color scheme.
Is it just the black and red are like in different spots, or is it like a different shade or something?
I saw like a comparison. It's just like a different shade of red, more black.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't like notice it in the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, and he has a different weapon.
Does he have what? He has this like break apart thing, right?
Yeah, but it's different. It's not the same.
Okay.
Yes.
Because he always has his pike, right? That like thing, like you know.
Yeah, and but it's not that. It's a.
Was it 3 parts? Because I feel like I almost remembered it because it looked the same.
Yeah, I think it's 3. It's different. I know it's not the same. But I like his
Screama stick. That's what that's what Nightwing has.
Yeah. I liked his like stance when he came in. I thought his intro was pretty cool. But again, like that fight in the beginning was like the hallway fight of Echo, I guess, because it was like a one shot.
He uses a billy club. Oh, so I guess
in that or just in general?
I just looked up it's a specifically designed baton. So.
No, in the other Daredevil series, they don't connect.
Oh, they don't. In this, he actually uses the fully connect.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, I know they're different. Like, why can't I think of it? Yeah, I don't really know if I have much more to say.
No, I don't either. And I think Daredevil was kind of shown because he does say, Kingpin's like, I've never had anyone stand up even sort of to him. So like that's why I think that's what kind of also influenced why Maya was so key to Kingpin as well. But yeah, definitely the Kingpin stuff. I think you got a very satisfying conclusion to it by the end with like she kind of goes into his mind palace and gets him to forgive like his dad, like because she realizes like, listen, he's fucked up for reasons technically beyond his control too. Like he's because of this, because of the environment he grew up in. And he just holds on to this anger, and that's what you see in his mind place. He's just
I do like that scene. Like I wonder how that's going to change the Kingpin going forward.
Well, and so
like, what did you do?
So I think
it's almost like he didn't really understand it himself.
So this is the dichotomy I think they're setting up for Daredevil. Is Kingpin might actually be genuinely trying to change his ways because he has been.
You think?
Because no, I think he's gonna try to become a bit more of a straight shooter because I think the idea was...
Call me Will.
I think the idea was that Maya kind of cleansed him of that, like, that...
You think?
That hate that he's been holding on to because he's sitting there and he's, like, looking at the mayor thing and they're like, we need someone who will come in here and actually get the job done. And he's like, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can actually do the good thing the right way.
I just saw it as him being like,
this is my power
What
grab.
a way to get power, to be the mayor, which is a comic book thing.
No, yeah, absolutely.
From the comics when Wilson Fisk becomes mayor of New York. But yeah, I mean, something like you said, we've seen with Lex Luthor being mayor or president.
Yeah, he's usually president, I think.
I'm kind of down with that.
I am too. I think that could be a very different and interesting way to go with it.
Do you think that is a reshoot? Because it easily could have been. Very disconnected scene.
What of him in the
plane?
I mean, it could have been.
I mean, what I'm referring to is, I guess, the nightmare shitstorm that Born Again has turned into, where they've totally trashed whatever the show was.
Yeah, well, maybe they thought it was going to go someplace different. I think my assumption is,
what's funny? We didn't hear much about Echo's filming.
No, we didn't. I mean, again, most of these we usually don't.
I feel like even you are pretty you have your ear to the ground with behind the scenes shit that I usually don't.
And I will say that comes a lot from Mr. Sunday Movies, his podcast.
But I'm just surprised like nothing came out of it. Well,
and I think it was a pretty...
look how much we've been hearing about Captain America, Brave New World.
Sure.
Like we've heard so much about that, and that's so far away.
It's funny though, because like I feel like we've heard more of that than a lot of things, but in the grand scheme, we haven't really heard it. We heard that they started shooting, and then we heard that they wanted they're doing extensive reshoots, which is different because
and then that Harrison Ford is going to be Red Hulk,
right? And again, like we know that confirmed. It's funny. That's his character, right?
Right, but he has the ripped pants on the scene.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that was.
It's funny. I usually try to avoid like screenshots specifically.
No, you don't.
But like, no, that's not. I get like stuff like that.
You're posting the leaks in the Discord, which
it depends on the leak usually. I see. It's funny. We don't get a ton of on-set leaks like that anymore because most things are filmed on sound stages and not like outside.
Well, Echo definitely wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But like, that's not. Actually, you get a picture of Echo.
It was
and
filmed
it's
on location.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it did feel like
it. Well, did you see at the end how they mentioned
said special thanks to like the people too and stuff?
Choctaw Nation, and they actually they edited the scripts, they approved the scripts, which is cool. Which I guess is interesting.
Well, and I'm sure the stuff pertaining to them. I assume.
In a year, I mean, it's kind of funny. Killers of the Flower Moon is about the Osage Native American tribe, but not really in a good way, because they're all getting fucking murdered.
Sure.
In that movie, but two different mediums kind of highlighting Native American tribes that people probably don't know about. I know I didn't hear of Osage or Choctaw before watching Killers of the Flower Moon in this.
Again, I think they handled they could have really like layered it on thick, for lack of a better term, with that stuff.
They definitely could have.
But I think they actually really did hold it to a tasteful amount. Maybe that comes from the Choctaw people actually,
But again, I think that's the part of it I liked. Whereas I think we're both in agreement. We like the cultural,
dramatic side of it. Yeah. Influence.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm like, why am I not getting this word?
It's okay.
Influence, but the superhero marvel of it is the part that's
it feels lacking. A little like misplaced.
But like again, the villain, the Kingpin, is the part that's going to bring your Netflix Marvel fans in, or you're just your Marvel fans.
Well,
but like the character is not.
Definitely. I think so too.
And it's funny. We haven't watched What If. Have you watched What If?
Not yet, no.
Yeah, neither have I. And we're definitely not going to review it.
Yeah,
I think at this point, which is fine. But like, What If came out, and I remember people were talking about season 1 of What If a lot. But with this one, I feel like it just kind of came out. They spread it out over like a week or so, or however long it was, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, I saw like some articles, but I would agree with you more. I felt like talked about from the first one, and I think that's partly a product of it being the first season to a degree,
right?
But
it's
new, and you don't know what's kind of coming. But and of course you don't necessarily with the new one. But I don't know. I do think overall though this was a success to show me that they can do a different show again. I mean, they did it with Marvel, or with Daredevil and all those shows, but that was a separate like section under Disney. This is showing me that this Disney, like whatever we got now, team behind it, can make a show like this that works. And I'm glad they've had the foresight to cut it down to this 5 hours, or these 5 episodes, I should say. I think it kept it contained and focused, and I was pretty satisfied with where it led us overall. For the most part, especially with the Kingpin.
I can't say that I was unsatisfied.
Sure.
But I can't say that I really liked it or that I disliked it.
Sure.
I was satisfied. I didn't feel like I wasted my time.
Not at all.
But I guess in this episode, I literally just said it was something I watched for 4 hours. But I wasn't like. At some points, I was like, like what's going on?
Yeah.
As it got in the minutia of just the normalcy of the family dynamic. But it really wasn't focusing on the Marvel of it, and then it got back, and then I was like, okay, fine.
See, it's funny. I liked those first 3 episodes.
I just think I didn't think the family drama ended up being like that relevant to the echo of it.
Sure, I personally did like it a lot because I felt like it did kind of wrap around, especially in the end where she's like, no, this is my family, and I should have been with my family this whole time, but like I've been pretending to be your family, and I've been doing this. All these terrible things. And even the way the grandma was like, I didn't like being around you because you were like your father. And I was like, ooh.
It was pretty powerful.
Yeah, fuck. And like, there was like, again, I think the dramatic tension is like the best part of this. And I don't think
and she was also being manipulated by her father in terms of her family. Like, hey, like your grandma's problem.
Yeah, like she's the reason we left. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Which I think it's like shades of gray. She seemed to really want them to leave, but her dad leaving... I mean, she's leaving too, and she didn't seem to care that much about it. Yeah. So, like, like any good family dynamic, there's going to be shades of gray, and I think they did a great job of, coloring those shades in, personally. Anything else, Gooch?
No. I mean, that's, it's our last, this is going to be our last Marvel thing for a while.
Yeah.
I guess maybe...
I think till Deadpool, for sure.
Yeah, but I'm, I mean, to the to our dismay, or maybe a little bit, I feel like our Marvel stuff has not been getting views as well. And it's nothing to say of like our content,
sure.
but Screen Crush was talking a lot about this and about how with like Loki, like their numbers for their Loki content was just abysmal.
In general, it's definitely been on the down.
And I'm trying to look at our numbers and being like, I think people just aren't as interested in the Marvel stuff. And it's just like I think you'd much rather just Like, I think, like, a ton of people might just watch our review over watching the show.
Sure. And listen, I think that seems to be totally...
It's easy to talk about, and, like, unlike Attack on Titan, where it's like, you gotta watch the show to really grasp all this. But, like, Echo, not necessarily the same.
Sure, I do think Echo is much less of a commitment, so I would recommend it in the way of, like, it's 5 episodes... I think they're pretty easily digestible. I don't feel like there was a lot of fluff where I was getting bored personally.
No.
I don't know if you're somewhat intrigued.
Not a lot of fluff. I was still getting bored.
Sure, fair.
In the first few episodes.
I will say for the I watched 3 yesterday and 2 this morning. I felt actually pretty like satisfied through most of it. I didn't feel like bored or like what's going on. It felt like it did kind of just get straight to the point, which I appreciated. But it's a different pace to a Marvel thing, and I appreciate that. I've said that already, but I really do.
It is.
Yeah.
I guess that's commendable that they're doing something.
They really
different.
followed through with it, and I do think it works for like. But is it like
I don't think
I
don't think I'd recommend this to anyone.
Sure.
Per se. I don't know. Like if I was, I guess when I say that, I mean that was kind of dramatic. I think when I mean that, I mean like if one of my friends, let's take like Matt Spurrier, because Matt Spurrier was not a Marvel fan, and then he was going out with a girl who liked Marvel, so he watched all of it, and now he really doesn't watch any of it. And I know he watches our podcast. So
sure.
Hey Matt, shout out if you're watching.
What's up, Matt?
And he'd be like, Gooch, is Echo like worth it? I'd be like, no, not really. I think you don't need to watch it. It's not that important.
Well,
Whereas we were talking about Loki, that's such a different conversation.
And I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by do you need to watch it. Like, it's like, will you find enjoyment out of it for watching it on its own? I think so.
I think a lot of people won't. A lot of people won't who are the half Marvel fans, I guess I should call them.
Sure. That makes sense to me.
The people who are like,
I think the people that were done after Endgame were done regardless of whatever came out after.
Right.
I think that was like...
What do we call those people? We got to find like some names.
I don't know. There's probably a name. But like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I understand that.
we gotta label those groups of people.
Yeah. Those monsters who don't like everything everyone like. No, I'm kidding. Obviously not everyone likes it. But I understand, like, that was such a great and well thought out saga that ended with a really good period. And people were like, you know what? I feel pretty good. And I feel like I can leave it there. And I do think if we got into a future where we maybe did slow down and maybe Marvel took like 2 years off and they really tried to, quality over quantity.
What if Marvel kind of realized, like, in this time period where they don't have a lot of movies off, and you're like, you know what? We're going to push everything back.
They might. Dude,
They could.
I really hope.
They could feasibly do it. Because it wouldn't be actually that disruptive.
I've talked about this time and
it would
time
only
again.
benefit them.
It blows me away that you get something like that, like Kevin Feige really having a hold on this universe up until Endgame, and I think that's where it truly showed. Like, that's where the money people really got involved.
I love how every Marvel project we've talked about, probably in the last year or so, we always have these like bigger Marvel talks.
Well, because we have, because I mean, it's definitely a big thing.
Because it's important. But do you think we'll see Feige come out and address?
I mean, address like what? Like,
I don't just the
because he's definitely talked about like how like
we haven't really. There was a red carpet actually. There was a red carpet premiere for Echo in like a Choctaw like town or something like that. Like that's where they did it or something. I just haven't. Since the strikes, also we just haven't. I haven't seen a lot from Feige on the red carpet because I feel like that's where his like wording and like quotes are from are him on red carpets but like I'm like Feige, I think you maybe gotta like do like a gun thing and like come out and maybe like talk about like the future in like a very like
candid way,
not on stage.
Yeah,
it's pre-recorded where you just be like, hey, like this is what we're doing. And these are who cast it. And just be a little bit more, not be hype about it, but just kind of be clear and concise about it.
Well, and I think that's what we're going to have to get with our next whatever kind of
announcement. We're in the middle of Phase 5, right?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
What ends Phase 5?
Supposedly Secret Wars. And then that's, supposedly happening in 2 years, which
I'll tell
Deadpool might be setting up. I mean, I think I'd like to think they're recognizing it. I'd like to think Kevin Feige.
Brave New World? Okay, so maybe this might be the new Phase 5.
Because things got shifted around heavily because of COVID.
I'm looking. Okay, so the last movie is Brave New World.
Okay.
Captain America. The last show... what is all this bullshit?
Again, I don't know how much of that is even like accurate anymore.
And I'm just Agatha, Darkhold Diaries, fucking terrible name. Eyes of Wakanda. What is
these
that?
names?
Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is that animated show, I think. Marvel Zombies, Daredevil, Born Again, and Ironheart are kind of the only things of consequence in my opinion. But like, I guess Agatha's still fucking happening, sadly. But like, are any of these like and that animated show? But like, Eyes of Wakanda and Marvel Zombies, like, is that even still happening? Like, what the fuck are those things?
I mean, the Marvel Zombies could still be easily because that's just animated. But yeah, I don't know, man. Kev. You know what you're doing. You did it for 20 years. So like, I really just want to believe that
10.
this is a lot. 10. I mean, when
he's been around for
and I mean, he seemed to like not single-handedly, but like he was a major cornerstone of why these movies worked. And it just does feel like there's so many hands in the cookie jar at this point that like that just want their money, and now they're seeing it finally go away because they're like, all right, well, now we're putting out too much. We need to slow down. We need quality over quantity.
Yeah, I think Kevin Feige and Marvel need to have a new face and start being more genuine. Just like, and I think I'd say the opposite about James Gunn. And the new
you mean
DCU.
Be more candid, not genuine, because genuine. I don't. What do you mean like genuine? Like
just be honest.
Okay, yeah, okay,
yeah. So I mean, candid. Whatever word you
no,
want
it's
to use.
cool.
But like, I've been, if you've been in Discord, I recently had a blow up about the air cut of Suicide Squad, where it's just like, I'm so fucking sick of this. I'm sick of talking about this. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm like,
what, the air cut in general, or just like
just DC stuff in general right now. I'm like, go the fuck away. Like, just go away. I don't want to hear about it until I see trailers and like we actually have news. But like, obviously, we get the casting of like, the guy that's, with the bummed leg in the background. Like we know about like every casting nowadays. So it's just like really annoying. Like,
well, dude, the Lex Luthor one that didn't even get confirmed for months later.
All those castings for Superman Legacy. I'm like, I just want to stop hearing about it. I'd much rather be surprised about it in the movie or in the trailer.
But that's the universe but unfortunately, Gooch, especially being on a podcast, we pay too much attention to it.
I know.
So because
even if we didn't have the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We'd still probably be, in that circle. So it's just tough to kind of get away from, especially the scoops. Everyone wants their scoops, Gooch. Everyone wants them. But Gooch, anything else?
I'll probably link that right at the end.
Yeah, do it. Why not? Come on. Anything else on Echo?
No, man, but I'm excited to step away from Marvel a bit. I think it gives us more opportunities to probably review things like
give us some time to miss something. That's I'm sorry, that's truly
and DC. We won't have any of that. And
that won't be till 2025.
And it sounds like neither of us are getting Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So
can we do a whole podcast where I just rant? I might need to just get that out. I don't know.
We do need something for February.
I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about I guess I'd have to play. I'd have to play it to actually critique it. I feel, but I don't want to. Or I could just. I guess I can just give my thoughts.
I did that with Odyssey and Valhalla. You don't have to.
God, it looks so bad, Gooch. I'm
I want to watch the gameplay that got released.
Dude.
I haven't got. I want to just like I'm in this dark room. Like there's one light on, and I'm like,
you literally really just described me. I was sitting there watching it. I'm like, dude, it can't be this bad.
And I'm like reading. I'm like, imagine the movie montage. I'm like reading the headlines, like terrible. And then I see the gameplay. That's what they need to have happen.
Oh my god, it looks so far away from anything I would have ever wanted Rocksteady to do, and it's just so sad. But that's a whole other podcast unto itself.
Yeah,
it really is.
I was gonna go.
You can go on Discord for us and with us, and you can hear us hear me specifically.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna be talking a lot about it, especially as the reviews, the official scores,
absolutely
come out about it.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching with us live. If you've been with us on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on any of your favorite platforms. We also are on your favorite social media pages as well. Delco Nerds on basically everything. Got a Facebook page, Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. All this information can be found on our website, delconerdnetwork.com. We really appreciate you guys sticking around with us. If you can share, subscribe, comment on the video, tell a friend about us. It goes a very long way. We really appreciate you being here with us every single time we do this. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we'll see you next time.
Right.